Joining me now, Mike Davis, former clerk for Justice Neil Gorsuch, and Chris Landau, former law clerk to Justices Scalia and Thomas, former ambassador to Mexico. Mike, Trump was obviously, indicted. In his case, Biden, gets off with the he's old and can't remember anything defense. He wouldn't even answer investigators when they asked if he believed his notes contained classified information, and whether he believed he was authorized to possess classified information after his vice presidency, or whether he took steps to avoid writing classified information in his notebooks. Mike, your reaction to the special prosecutor's decision?
Well, I think what is important to remember is it is Biden Attorney General Merrick Garland who made the decision to charge President Trump for retaining presidential records he's allowed to have under the Presidential Records Act. He had them in the office of former president, heavily guarded, funded by Congress, and then Garland made the decision not to charge Biden for having 5 sets of stolen classified records moved several times, unguarded for years, accessible by Biden's Chinese agent, almost certainly used by Hunter to secure Burisma funding. And how does Merrick Garland explain that he's going to charge Trump for records he's allowed to have, but not charge Biden for records that he stole?
I mean, Chris, to laymen out there, and you both clerked, we all clerked on the court, but for laymen out there hearing this, they think this is just a double standard. I mean, it's just totally political. Her, though, is a Trump, was a Trump appointee. But your reaction to this, is this a double standard?
Laura, of course it's a double standard. And worse than that, Laura, this is an emperor has no clothes moment. I mean, this man is obviously not fit to be president of the United States, much less to be running for another term. At this point, you have to ask the people who are his enablers, have you no decency? I mean, what the heck is going on here? And obviously, the Her report talks about the history of disputes over presidential papers going way back, and tries to distinguish or suggest that there's a distinction for Trump, that Trump wasn't as forthcoming. But that's a process crime. Again, this is just like the Mueller report. We get process crimes that they talk about. This is no basis to charge a former president for the first time to be bringing criminal charges, Laura. It's just a travesty.
Now, CNN's Eli Honig referenced Trump's statement today and mentioned this point. Watch this, Mike.
Donald Trump repeats the tired, false refrain that he's somehow protected by the Presidential Records Act. Right. That has no application to any of this.
No application, Mike, going right at your favorite response.
Well, I mean, Joe Biden said that the Presidential Records Act applies, but apparently not when his Justice Department is bringing a political prosecution against their political opponent, Donald Trump. The Presidential Records Act is any documents created or received by the president and his White House staff, and that includes documents that are sent to him from the CIA, the State Department, the Defense Department. Those are presidential records.
Chris, I want to ask you about the White House attorney's response to this report, saying that the comments in the basically saying it's inappropriate, inaccurate editorializing about the president's mental condition, saying they took issue with the conclusions, but it was showing signs of essentially severe bias in the report. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, Laura, it's, as I think you mentioned earlier, it's very material to the ultimate outcome of the report, because this thing was not a clean bill of health by any means, as the president was suggesting this afternoon. This is a very damning report that concludes that the president did willfully take these documents and endanger national security, and the only reason it says we're not prosecuting is just because of his diminished mental capacity. This is a Justice Department report. This is the man who's negotiating with Putin and Xi Jinping, who's having missile strikes on the Houthis, who may take us to war in Iran.
Well, who's
Laura,
in charge?
This is very disturbing.
Yeah, but it goes to the point I raised earlier.
Question.
This entire presidency has been propped up by a lie that he was in charge.
Yep.
And when we read this special prosecutor's report, based on our direct interactions and observations with him, he is someone for whom many jurors will want to identify reasonable doubt. It would be difficult to convince a jury that they should convict him by a then former president well into his 80s of a serious felony that requires a mental state of willfulness. A mental state of willfulness. I mean, if you can't answer questions about when your own son passed away, the time frame, are we to believe that Biden's making the calls about foreign policy, trade, the border, Mike Davis?
I mean, think about what Hur is saying here, that Biden is a criminal, but he's a lovable, demented criminal, so we're not going to charge him.
Well, we understand that the president, they see that this is a problem, and President Biden is planning now to address the nation at 7:45, so we're going to stay on this. Chris, the fact that they had to send their 2 lawyers out to respond to this report, when the report actually, in a sense, not vindicates him, but it says we're not going to charge him because we don't think a jury will be able to find, and this man with such a diminished memory, again, about basic things. So they don't charge him. Biden kind of brags about that today when he goes up there, avoiding the other, issues. But then the lawyers feel compelled to come out to say, no, it's inaccurate, inappropriate. Shouldn't have talked about his mental state. Wrong. Now the president's coming out at 7:45. We assume, we don't have any other guidance on this, there's a reason he's coming out. So I'm vigorous, I'm here, I'm with you, I'm leading the country. They're going to have to do more than come out for 5 minutes at the end of a day or 10 minutes.
I would think so, Laura. I think the gig is up. The emperor has no clothes. I mean, you have to believe your own eyes and ears are lying to you at this point, and they just can't hide it anymore. At some point, you just can't keep lying anymore. It's too obvious, Laura.
I mean, Mike, Mitterrand is gone. Helmut Kohl is passed away. But Biden keeps talking about conversations. Maybe he does actually think he's having conversations with them. I mean, I actually, in some way, feel sorry for him. I blame his family. They know exactly the kind of condition he's in. My own father, suffered from, decline, as so many of our aging parents do. It's just kind of a natural course that most people take. But this is no joke at this point. We have serious issues facing this country, and we're all supposed to pretend that, oh, it's kind of cute that he mentioned Mitterrand, or it's kind of cute that he didn't know when, seminal acts in his life occurred. Those happened a long time ago. How serious of a juncture have we arrived at, Mike?
Well, you have a president who does not have the mental capacity to stand trial for criminal charges, including, according to his own Justice Department. How can he be the president of the United States and the commander-in-chief? He doesn't remember when he was the vice president. He doesn't remember when his son died. I mean, this is very scary stuff. And if we actually followed the Constitution, this might be the time for Biden's cabinet to look at the 25th Amendment on his mental incompetence.
I was just going to say that. Chris, you were in the administration as